All right, and we're live. So I'm super excited today. We're going to be talking about Nacho Problem. I keep calling it Nacho Paragraph because that was the original version of it. And then this lovely human, Ligia Ayala Rodriguez, revamped it for a math version. And I've been using it with with a few classrooms in my district. And it is fantastic for error analysis. So you might be wondering, what is it? So, what is a problem that is not your problem? Not your problem. So let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, and here she is joining us. So, hi and welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm Lihia. I know that's a really different. I know you're probably like, how did she say that name? It's Lihia Ayala Rodriguez. A lot of people just know me by my shortened last name of A-Rod. So you'll hear John call me A-Rod and a couple of other people. So, yep. And I'm here. I'm a sixth grade math and science teacher.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you here. I know you said you had a crazy afternoon, so I'm so glad that you could join us and share the joy that is Nacho Problem.
Nacho.
So tell us about it, like your journey. How did you get here? How did you everything? Just go. It's yours.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Where do I start? Well, I was born in, no, just kidding. Um, let's see. It all started, I guess, a couple of combinations of things. Like my school was fortunate enough to get some really good training by John. Like they brought us John Carippo right into our school and brought him in, and we got one-on-one or small group training with him. So I was introduced to Edu protocols through him, and at the same time, we were going to trainings with John Hattie and kind of getting the whole, the mind frames. So it's just kind of like this 1 year where we were just kind of getting a little bit of a culmination of both of those. So just kind of getting information about all that just kind of brought together all these ideas about, sorry, I'm kind of like a little nervous. Sorry.
Oh no, you're doing great. So Nacho Problem. I'm assuming that was a spin off of Nacho Paragraph.
Yes, and it was kind of that, and also one of the trainings, like I said, we did with John Hattie with the visible learning. We learned about my favorite no, and I don't know if you're ever familiar with that. Caught it from like a little video segment that they showed us, and what my favorite no was this teacher had index cards, and she would have students kind of, I guess, from an exit ticket or something, do a problem, and she would go through, check the problems, and find either the most common mistake or her favorite no, her favorite wrong answer. And then she would put it up on the whiteboard or on her overhead projector, and she'd start doing the problem as the student did it. And not saying who the student is, obviously. And the kids had to find the mistake that the student had made. So it was kind of like a combination of that and the Nacho Problem, and also just kind of a need that I needed at that time of my students really weren't checking their work, or if I gave them the opportunity to redo work, they wouldn't do it. So it's kind of like my way of forcing them to check their own work, because in the beginning, I'd pull problems from the internet off of websites that would give you wrong answer analysis problems. And then I just started pulling it from the students' work. And either I'd actually just take a picture of the student's work and put it on there. And it's funny how many students don't even recognize their own handwriting. Or if it was too, we couldn't read it very well for the picture, I would just rewrite and just kind of copy exactly what they did. And I'd put it into the Nacho Problem template, and the students would be able to check work. Because a lot of times it'd be the same mistake that many students were doing, or it was just a common error that that I needed to make sure that they paid attention to work carefully at. So it just kind of came from that, and just like, again, forcing them to check work and forcing them to redo work, because we sit there and we give them all this wonderful feedback, like check this step or be careful here. And how many of my students in sixth grade wouldn't even read the feedback that I'd take the time to do, and it would frustrate me, or would just choose to be like, I'm okay with this.
Yeah. Or I looked it over and it's right.
Yeah.
But no, baby, it's not.
No, so it's just like a forced way to make them do it again. And I started using it recently for if they didn't do well on a test, I'd pull some of the questions that, maybe a majority of the class didn't do well, put it in the Nacho Problem template. And if they got it right, they caught their mistake, I'd give them the point on their test,
Oh,
you know?
nice.
So it, like I said, just a forced way of making them go back and look at their work, because I knew
Well,
they knew it just from
yeah.
walking around and watching students work. But for some reason, they rushed or something distracted them, or, I just wanted to give them that opportunity, especially after the 2 years we've had where they haven't been working the way, they used to. They were Googling answers and
Hmm.
not, we all know that they weren't working to the level that they could be. Their expectations were just, they weren't meeting our expectations, I should
It
say.
was a wild and crazy 2 years, and
Hmm.
we're still, making up for it, and still, yeah. And I've been using Nacho Paragraph. I love it. I've been using it with with a couple second grade teens in my district, using it as error analysis because that
Hmm.
is so huge. Where is the problem? And that is one of the mathematical practices that they
Hmm.
need to be able to do that, and they can't express it. They can't find it. So. And I've only done it a couple times in several of these classrooms, and I have noticed like a huge difference already of like they're tuning in just that much more.
Hmm.
So I love it.
For sure. And I mean, error analysis isn't a new concept, in teaching and math, in any of the subjects. But for me in math, it's not something brand new. I didn't rewrite and come up with like, oh, but it was just a need. It was a need that I had with these students, and it just seemed to suit it. And I found a couple of things online. I'm like, ew, that's ugly. And I'm all about things looking pretty and cute. And I just kind of threw it together and I'm like, okay, here we go. Make it interesting for the kids to want to do. And so they've gotten really used to it. In the beginning, their explanations were really, they got it wrong. Okay, well, how did they get it wrong? You
Right.
know? And so again, forcing them to explain, well, what did they do exactly? And then forcing them to just show the work, not the answer. Because so many times they just want to give me the answer. They tell me what they did wrong and they just give me the answer. I'm like, nope, nope, doesn't fly. Do it again. You got to show me what they did wrong. And they've really gotten used to taking pictures of their work. So even if they don't want to, with math, they don't always know how to use the equator makers and things like that,
Yeah.
or for some reason their computer's not bringing, they can't download it. So they'll just take pictures of their work and show me that way as well.
That is great. Do you want to share anything? Do you have anything to share? Would you like
Oh,
me to share?
go ahead and start sharing while I dig in my stuff here, because like I said, crazy
Sure.
afternoon.
Not a problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's see. Oh, I have one big mad dog. She's yelping and crying and everything else. Let's see. Oh, it has lost permission. Oh, let me try that again. Share screen. The entire screen. No. Oh, I have a big mad computer is what I have. Let me see if I can do it over here. Bring it over here. And tab. Let's try that. Ah, there we go. So this was yours. So it is in the MathReps. It's on the MathReps website, so it's free. It is, credit is on here, obviously.
Thanks.
Everything is Creative Commons, and so this was the one that you had given us, so that you had the problem and they had to explain what the answer was. So it is really pretty. Like one of the students last week said, Miss N, did you make this? I was like, okay, so I made up the problem because they were working with money in second grade. I said, well, I made up the problem. I said, however, I did not make up this paper. And I said, this wonderful human being did. They're like, oh, and they just loved it. They were like, we like it. It's so much fun. I mean, but it is second grade. So like every time you do something new in second grade, like they all love it and everything is fantastic. So yeah, so this is what it is. And it's so simple and so easy to use. And just, And for our second language learners, I'm in a district where we have a lot of second language learners. Like this is just helping that whole process as well. So the amount of learning that they're getting from it and the feedback that they get from it and the expression. And I said, if you can figure out where they're going wrong with anything, that tells me you really understand the whole process and you're really getting it. So it's such a complete and wonderful tool that you have. So I don't know, are you ready to share or?
Yeah, well, no, not really. Sorry. I'm like looking for it. I'm like, what is she sharing? Let me look. Sorry. I'm just.
Oh, you're fine. You are fantastic. Like this, I told you, it's very casual and super chill. So I'll just go ahead and add that again. So that's it. I do have a problem that we did. So the second grade problem. Oh, that picture didn't come out. That's okay. It was a tape diagram. So on this one, we just had a word problem, and it was, the teacher, she had to go from point A to point B, but in between she stopped somewhere. And so when she stopped, how much further did she have to go? So like the whole concept of that, like right there blew their little minds. Again, it was second grade. And so in order for them to do that, so I kind of broke it down. So this is how they're used to doing the problem so that they could see it. I was a little sad that none of them were like, because I think the total was like 109 miles or something like that. And then I said, oh, she still has 141 more miles to go. Like none of them caught on that was not a logical answer. But we'll get there. So no big deal, right? So on the picture that's not showing up is on the back, we did a tape diagram of it. And so like we did from point A to point B, and, this is where she stopped. And so just so that they could see visually what that looks like. And then I introduced them to the variable and they could use a letter, and like that blew their little minds. They're like, what? I'm like, you're going to use like high school math, right? They think they're doing all of these really great things. And, we tell them those things and they get excited and they're like, yes. And they were all into it. And so like we worked it out and they worked it out. And so next time when I do this with the class, I think they're going to try it on their own instead of me walking them through it. Like they kind of know what to do now. And so now I want to see what their process is and what their thinking is on all of that.
Yeah, I think, the forced looking at it, knowing they know the steps, they know the process, they have their notes that they can look at, but it's like that forced, okay, zero in on this. Something's wrong here. There's, even though like if you give them the test, they're all getting it, maybe there was one problem they're all getting wrong, but this is going to force them, okay, there's something wrong. I'm not seeing it, but they're going to I think there's a little bit more perseverance because they're looking for that, what's wrong in this problem. Where if they just solve it on their own and there's no feedback, they're just like, okay, this is what I got. And that's it.
Right. And they're so often, especially with certain math programs, just used to, all right, this is like, I solved the problem and that's it. And then you move on. And then there is none of that thought process.
There's no thinking about it later. So let me see. I'm trying to find here a student. That we can read what they wrote. Okay, let's see. I think this one, I got to send it to myself. It's like I'm working within two like windows. I have my work district and stuff open, and I can't log into Facebook through work. So I'm like bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's share. I'm going to share this to myself and then I'll open it up. So
Excellent.
Sorry.
No, you are great. I mean, I am just so thrilled that you're here and sharing your knowledge and how you use it. It's interesting because you are at a different level than I'm at, because I usually work with just K-5 teachers with these things. And so
that'd be good for me to hear, because then I can share it with my IC at my district or my school, and then how we can we're trying to get, more of the lower grades to do some of these edu protocols. And I think something like this would, seeing it, how it works with you would be good to share with her.
Absolutely. So like, we've been doing it with second grade. I'm not in any first grade classrooms. I am, but I haven't done it with any first grade classrooms. So, I've done it. The lowest I've done is second grade. And like I said, they seem to be going for it. Like, second time around, they're like, oh, and they're starting to cue in on certain things and just focusing a little bit more, which is what we want.
Oh goodness. Now I'm like, I open it up, access denied, because I forgot to give myself access.
And we've all done
my
that. And I've done
gosh.
that in the middle of like a presentation here. And it's like everybody was like, okay, so let me go back in and like change the permission settings on that one. Sorry.
Exactly. And then not only that, like I had my mouse. I'm like, I had my mouse in my hand at work. I'm like, okay, let me take my mouse. And of course, didn't bring the mouse. And my husband was trying to help me out here with like, hooking me up. I'm like, just never mind. Just never mind. I'll do it from the trackpad. What? Okay, I'm finding out here. I'm like wondering if I could share from I wonder if I can share from my work, because for some reason I cannot send. It won't let me share outside the district this assignment. I wonder if it's because it's a student's example.
Yeah, it
I
is.
think that's what it is, because it was in my Google Classroom.
Yeah. Take a snapshot of it.
Yeah, let's see. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. That is a great idea.
That's exactly what I did. I was like, oh, I have a picture somewhere. And then it wouldn't let me share it super quick. I was like, I'm going to take a screenshot. Forget it.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to get to, okay. Let's see. So.
It's all good. It's all
I'm
good.
like feverishly trying to, okay, copy.
We all do those things. But I'm so glad that you did share and that I finally figured out who created it so that we could give the proper credit where the credit is due.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you're going to Spring Q in next week. That's next week.
Yeah, I wish I was going. I know there's some
right,
teachers from my site going, but not me. So,
well, if you have any of the elementary ones, there are quite a few. Well, not quite a few, but there's several EduProtocol sessions that'll be happening, so they can go see those. I do have a math one in case people want to see that, and at the end, there's a shout out to other EduProtocols that are in it, and Nacho Paragraph. Did it again. Nacho Problem is one of them. And then there's another one that I started using from Cindy Lee. She created one, the spinning wheels, and emoji. She calls it emoji word problems. So I adapted it for second grade. And so we'll be doing that. Somebody asked, is Q only for California teachers? I believe you can join Q from anywhere. I think they have it free for anybody. Like I'm originally from Michigan. And so they have their version of Q is Macul, MACUL. And I belong to them. So we don't care. I think Q is okay with it. Q's like, yeah, sure, come on board. They do some really great stuff. They do have some virtual things as well that they've been doing.
So I have, sorry, something ready. So do I just hit share screen and then?
So go to, let's see. So I'm going to stop sharing. So I had something that was sharing. So go ahead and click the plus and that says share, and then you can do share screen. And then I usually do just the tab.
Okay, that's what I'll be doing. So again, I only was able to screenshot one. I didn't screenshot more, but it was the most missed problem, and like I did for a test. So can you see my screen? Can you see does it
we
show?
Can now. Yes.
Okay. So this was probably and it was more of like their challenge problem. It was dividing fractions, or actually mixed numbers, and this one they had to know what was being divided by what. This was one of the most missed problems, because they, as you can see in the example here, right, they were dividing 1 5/6 by 27.5 rather than flipping it around. So I put it in there, just screenshot. This is literally a student's work. And I dropped it in, and they had to figure out what the mistake was. And she was able to figure it out eventually and get to the correct answer. And she just did her work on paper and dropped in a pictures in there. So it was like, easy. Just the day I corrected everybody's paper, saw what they got wrong, and just took a couple pictures, dropped them into the template, and boom, the next day they worked on this. So very easy.
And such little prep work for you as well.
Yeah. Because
Like,
I think I even just I might have just even copied and pasted. Oh, I can't. I probably copied and pasted this out of my, out of the document that I used when I made the test and just dropped it in there. So that's it. You just take a screenshot, copy and paste it, drop it in, and these boxes are left empty and they do all the work. So, oops. So definitely very useful. And like I said, then they find their mistake. They're forced to find the mistake because if they got the same answer they got on the test, nope, it's wrong. Try again.
yeah.
And I'm surprised because they'll take a whole class period on 3 problems if they're not finding the mistake. And there's a couple of times they'll come up to me and say, Miss Arod, there's no mistake here. I'm like, oh yes there is. Oh yes there is.
Yeah. And like with it, it's so easy for you to do, like just dump it in the template. And I know for me, especially in primary, like the teachers really like to have, the paper. Like they don't even want to mess with the computer aspect of it, which I totally understand. So I literally copy out the paper and we just do it on paper.
Yep.
That's it. Sometimes I make up problems. Sometimes I ask the teachers what they're working on and, I just go and find some problems. It's so easy to do. And if you don't want to use all of the paper, whiteboards too, like the kids can write it on the whiteboards, take a picture of their whiteboard and dump it in there too. So many ways to do it. So fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I've done it, before I started doing this, I used the index cards because I was doing my favorite no, and I did the index cards. And I wish I could, give credit to the person who did my favorite no, but, I did the index cards and they gave it to me on the way out, so there's definitely ways to modify all of this for sure.
And it's fantastic for every grade level too. So I think everybody should try it.
Yeah, I mean, you could put this, the easiest of problems in there, and I say easiest for 6th grade, like it could be, a kindergarten or 1st grade class, or not kindergarten, but 1st grade, second, like you said, 2nd grade, put a problem in there, and they could, draw their arrays or draw their fact families, or how, or even what's a different way to solve it? I don't know. You know what I mean? There's so many things you could do with it.
Yeah, with the example that I shared with the subtraction, like they have different ways of doing it. So they can have the picture model, they can have, and I always forget the names of them. So basically it's like expanded form, and they have all these different forms that they can work with. So they can choose their favorite one. And that also gives you a nice little gauge too of like, okay, where does their understanding, where are they at in all of this?
Are they at the array or at the model or I have kids that still tally mark, or they're using the area models to do their fractions, where now in 6th grade they're supposed to be transitioning to the algorithm.
Yeah.
So where are they at this point? It's definitely helpful because, like I said, and then you can use it at any level, at an entry level, to see if they could even, do they understand this topic? Let's try it as pre-work. Let's see where you're at. You can use it as a check for understanding. You can use it as for, like I did this last time, for let's try to improve that test score, and let's use the feedback and look at the feedback. So, I mean, it's up to you. Sky's the limit.
So many applications. I cannot wait to hear what others are doing and how they are using it. So like, tweet at us, share it on Facebook. You just let us know. And we love to celebrate all of these things. So do you have any final thoughts on any of this?
No, just I'd like to see what everybody's using. I didn't put my information in there, but I'm sure I can share it through your site. And I'd like to, see what people do with it, because then I could share it with, people at my site and at my school.
Yes.
So, for anything, we are a community and we need to borrow from each other, because I mean that's how it is. It's like, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm sure everybody, there's some tie into something we've done in the past or how it was done in the past, but we're just kind of like tweaking it just a little bit and making it better for the new learners that are coming in, because that's the thing. It's like we have a whole new audience we're teaching to. It is not the same kids from when I started teaching, that's for sure.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining. I can't wait to see. I hope lots of people start using it and share out their thoughts and their success and see how they tweak it, because everybody tweaks it a little bit. So thank you so much. And I'm going to end the broadcast.
All right.